Hi friends, we just read Stone Soup, and now we're going to make our own stone soup to actually eat. What you'll need are some vegetables. Any vegetables will do. Pick your favorite. I like carrots and peppers and potatoes. I have corn, I have celery, and I have a yellow squash. And it's always good to start soup with some onion. This is a vegetable that your parents probably need to help you with because it's a little bit tricky to cut. You'll also need a scraping chopping tool like this. It's always important to put your hands on top when you chop. Hands on the top when you chop. And this part, you never want to get your fingers underneath. Always keep your hands on the top. We're going to chop up and down. So the first thing we need to do is ask your mom or dad, or whatever grown-up is with you, we need to cut this onion in small pieces using a sharp knife. This is something that you shouldn't do. Let your grown-ups help you with this step. So I'm going to chop, 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 just like in our stone soup. The characters added delicious vegetables to the soup, to the pot. So I'm going to cut these onions just like that. And I can even use my scraper for this part. Scoop it up and put it back in my cup. Nice and chopped up. So there's my onions. And be careful when your mom or your dad or your grown-up is chopping your onion. If you get too close, sometimes it makes tears come out of your eyes and it looks like you're crying. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is chop up my carrots. If you like to use a big carrot at the store and have a grown-up help you peel the carrot, you can chop a big carrot. But sometimes I just like to use our small carrots like we have for snack. And I'm just going to line them up. And I'm going to chop, chop, choppity chop. Here you go. See how my hands are on top of the chopper? Keep them on top so they don't hurt your fingers. Hands on the top when you chop. Hands on the top when you chop. I'm going to bring some more back over. And stone soup is like vegetable soup. And when I make vegetable soup, sometimes I have a lot of carrots, sometimes I have a little bit of carrots. Sometimes there's more peppers. Sometimes it depends, whatever's in my refrigerator. That's what I like to use for my vegetable soup. So just go ahead and ask your mom or dad to help you. Either choose the veggies that are in your fridge or go to the grocery store and see what veggies you can find. Okay. All right, I've got my onions chopped. I've got my carrots chopped. Here's another vegetable. This is a red bell pepper. And this is another one that you'll need some help with. Because if you allow your grown-up to cut it in half, you'll find there are lots of tiny seeds inside. So we don't want those to go in our soup. So I'll just cut those out. And you can ask a grown-up to help you cut those out. And there's still a few seeds, so I just give it a quick little wash. Get all those seeds out. Okay. All right. Now that your grown-up has helped you get the seeds out, now it's time to do your chopping. So we'll put our hands on the top when we chop. Hands on the top when we chop. And it's okay, whichever direction they're cut. Sometimes they get cut this way, sometimes they get cut this way, and you just chop it into smaller pieces. We want to chop them so that we can fit them in our mouth. That's called a bite-sized piece. Hands on the top when you chop. And if they don't cut all the way through, you can always stop and pull them apart. No problem. Just like so. And then, once you find that you like the size of your pieces, you can put them back in your bowl so they're ready when it's time to put them in the pot. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Put those pieces back in the bowl. Okay, we want to try to get them all chopped at the same time so that we can put them in the soup all together. All right, the next one I'm going to do is celery. I'm going to cut my celery in small pieces. So here's some celery that I have here. I'm going to give that a good chop. I'm going to line them up this way so I can go from top to bottom. Hands on the top when you chop. Hands on the top when you chop. Okay. This is working very nicely. If you don't have the tools that you need, you could ask a friend to borrow theirs. Or maybe you could even buy one if you think you'd use it again. All right, I've got my celery chopped up. Okay. And in this bowl, I have potatoes. This recipe says I should use 3 potatoes, but if you only have 1, that's okay. This will cut straight through. So you can cut it in half and then stand it up so that it keeps steady while you're cutting. Hands on the top when you chop. And the potatoes, you'll need to cut pretty small. The pieces can be too thick, and then it's hard to eat them. So cut them in small pieces. Using my hands on the top when I chop. Hands on the top when you chop. And maybe even you could ask a friend or a brother or a sister to come help you chop. Lots of people can do this job. Okay, great. Add those to my potato pile. Okay. All right. Now we're going to use corn for this recipe. You could put a lot in or a little bit, whatever you decide. This can has a nice hook, little loop to grab to help open it up. So you might need a grown-up's help with that part. Or if you have the kind of can that you need a can opener, you can ask your grown-up friend to help you do that. Okay. All right, here's my corn. I left the lid on so that I could drain all the water out of there. Now I can dump it into a bowl. Okay. All right. Now, let's see. I also have, this vegetable is called a yellow squash. And I'm going to cut off the bottom and the top. So I'm going to start with this small end. And then I'm going to get the other side. And it's really important when you get your vegetables from the grocery store, it's always important to give it a good rub with and rinse of water so that you get all of the bacteria and all the yucky part off. Okay, I'm going to, you might have a grown-up help you cut this way, then you can lay them flat. And then we can do our chopping again. Here we go, ready? Hands on the top when you chop. Hands on the top when you chop. It's really nice to use this tool. It really does a good job. Okay, I think that's looking pretty good. Okay, I don't have a bowl up for that, and that's okay. I'll just set that, leave that on my cutting board here. Okay, now the only other ingredient that I'm going to put in with the vegetables is garlic. Sometimes your parents might like to use garlic that comes from a clove of garlic. I like to use the garlic from a jar, and you can just use as much as you like. So I'm going to put a teaspoon of garlic in my recipe today. So I'm going to dunk my spoon in, a measuring spoon, and I'm just going to set that aside. So that's ready for us this time. All right, to get our soup started, I need to use 2 tablespoons of butter. So I cut 2 tablespoons off of my stick of butter. I'm going to take off the paper, and I'm going to put it in my big pot. So I'm just going to drop that in there. And I'm going to turn on my stove to a medium heat. And I'm going to use a wooden spoon. Just push that around a little bit. So after we put the butter in and it's starting to melt, we're going to put our onions inside of our big pot. Make sure you get all the onions in there. The onions are in the pot. The onions are in the pot. We'll stir and stir and stir some more. The onions are in the pot. Okay, the next thing I'm going to put in, the celery goes in the pot. The celery goes in the pot. We'll stir and stir and stir some more. The celery goes in the pot. The carrots go in the pot. The carrots go in the pot. We'll stir and stir and stir some more. The carrots go in the pot. The potatoes go in the pot. The potatoes go in the pot. We'll stir and stir and stir some more. The potatoes go in the pot. The peppers are in the pot. The peppers go in the pot. We'll stir and stir and stir some more. The peppers go in the pot. Right. Next, here's my garlic. I'm going to put that in with my onions and my celery. The garlic goes in the pot. The garlic goes in the pot. We'll stir and stir and stir some more. The garlic goes in the pot. If you don't have any soup broth, you can use water. 6 cups of water to go inside of our pot. But I like to use broth from the store. So I'm going to use chicken broth. If you have a little bit more or a little bit less of broth, it's okay. Okay, gonna let my broth heat up. I've been cooking my stone all nice and clean, so I think it's ready. I think I've got all of that dirt off there. So I'm going to put my stone right in my pot. I wonder if it will make my soup taste any better. The stone goes in the pot. The stone goes in the pot. We stir and stir and stir some more. The stone goes in the pot. The yellow squash goes in the pot. Yellow squash goes in the pot. We'll stir and stir and stir some more. Yellow squash goes in the pot. The corn goes in the pot. The corn goes in the pot. We'll stir and stir and stir some more. The corn is in the pot. Now we'll add a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper for flavor. And if you like to have pasta in your vegetable soup, you can certainly add pasta. If you don't like to have it, you can just eat it with only vegetables. I've got my tongs. I'm going to remove the stone. Remove the stone from the pot. It has done its job, and we'll take it out. And we'll let the soup cook the rest of the way. All right, well, the soup is all finished, so I'm ready to give it a taste. I see my potatoes and my peppers. I see my squash and my corn. My broth looks yummy. Let me see how our stone soup turned out. It's delicious. I hope you enjoy making some at your home too. Have a great day.